So we have these candy canes, which are just awesome. And they have these spikes that go into the ground. The problem is one of them broke and I need to fix it, and we're gonna use 3D printing to do so. Alright, so I'm going to go over how I created this thing inside of Onshape. It's not all that complicated of a part to make, but I want to kind of step through the process and my thought process. Essentially, there's a circle, and then there's a top and a bottom. That circle is going to serve as kind of our center point. So I'm going to start off with a sketch here and go on the top and make that circle. And it was 1.6 inches in diameter. So I'll finish that off, and then everything is 1/10 of an inch, so I'm just going to extrude that 0.1, and we're good to go there. So we have a disc here that's kind of set. The top half is going to be for what goes inside the candy cane, and the bottom half is going to be what exists outside of the candy cane. So our next step here is to get the little grid set up on there. So I'm going to do a sketch on top of that surface, and I'm going to hit the letter R. What that's going to do is bring up a center point rectangle. I can base everything around its origin, so I don't have to be super careful with measuring or placing things, because it's just going to put them where I want them to be. And I'm going to put that at 1. I believe I measured at 1.2. I'll double check those measurements in a little bit here and see that everything's in there properly. But I'll get that one in, and that's also going to be there. So now we have that part set up. I can finish that sketch, and I'm going to go to extrude, and then I'll click on each of those. A way to solve that way faster is to remove these lines on the inside, but again, it's not too big of a deal for what we're doing on this. So I'll finish my sketch there. I have that part set up. I'll add chamfers to the top edges of this just to help us get it inside of the candy cane's base a little easier. The original one has that, so I'm assuming that's what it's for. So I'll put those in there. I also need to cut notches on opposite corners here. So there's going to be a little raceway over here and a little raceway over here. That's just for the wires so that you can reposition where the candy canes are at or which way stuff's coming across and out of them. So we're going to start off, and we're just going to draw some lines here. I'll draw a line from here. Oops, not that line. So let me undo that. We'll draw a line from here straight across, and then another line from here going straight down. And then I'm just going to dimension from here to that point, and that should be about 1/4 of an inch is the rough measurement I took. Again, I'm not super worried about making sure everything is dead on accurate here. It basically just needs to be able to fit inside of the candy cane and do the job of having a spike. And that's really what I'm focused on. But right now I do need to make sure that I have enough space for the candy canes to actually, the wires to come through. So we'll go through those. We're going to remove just 1/10 of an inch. Not that it really matters if we put it through the whole thing, but we have that set up. All right. Our next step here is going to be to go and sketch on the other side of our part, which I guess is technically the bottom as far as Onshape is concerned. And I'm going to set up a rectangle again. This time, I'm just going to have it come out way wide. Let's just say it's going to be 2 inches, and again, 0.1, and we'll do the same thing here. 0.1 wide and 2 inches tall. And then I'm going to use a circle. I'm going to redraw the 1.6 inch diameter circle that we have here. And I'm going to use the scissor tool or M for trim. And like I said before, we can get rid of these to make things a little easier. We can do that, but we can also get rid of all of this extra stuff that we don't need. Again, you don't have to do this. It just makes making some of this stuff a little faster, a little bit easier. And now we really only have that one spot as our closed surface. So I'm going to extrude this. Now, one of the considerations I need to make is my printer only goes up to about 10 inches, but that's really maxing it out. And I've honestly never printed anything that tall. So I'm going to make this 6, which will make the total height of this thing a total of roughly 8. Because we have 2 here, 1/10, and then that. So that's going to kind of be the base that we have set up here. And the only other thing I need to do is put the spikes on here. There's lots of ways that I could do this. I think I'm going to start off on one of these surfaces and just kind of cut through. And that should make a little bit more sense. Or maybe even out on one of these surfaces over here. Let's see, can I do that? I can do that. Let's see if it wants to let me put it on one of those. It doesn't look like it wants me to go there for some reason. Maybe it's just too tiny. Not a big deal. We'll pick one of these surfaces for now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to draw a rectangle from one side to the other. So we're going to make sure we have all of our bases covered with that. And then we're going to use a line tool to go from here, and we'll zoom in to get the center point on that one. And then we're going to connect that back over here. So I should have 3, if we're looking at this straight on without worrying about anything else, we have 3 closed surfaces. We have this one, we have this triangular area, and then another one. So I'll finish my sketch, and we're going to extrude this triangle and this one. And then we need to try to pay attention to this inside area because that is going to cause some problems for us, but I'm not really too worried about it. It's going to get buried in the ground, so I'm going to ignore that for right now. We're going to remove, it's going to be through all, and then we're going to hit symmetric to make sure it cuts both ways. And you can see that little weirdness there where it's not going all the way to the point on the one side, that side right there. It's going to be a little weird, but that's okay. And we get some little aberrations that come along there. That's just from not having it be fully out to the edge. If we wanted to fix that, which we can do real fast, we can go into our sketch here, and instead of, well, actually go back into a sketch. Instead of having it go just to the corners, we can have this thing kind of come out this way and go all the way out. And then from there, we can draw in the things that we want to remove. So I'm going to find the center points, which is right there. See, it wants to lock onto another point. So I'm going to make it just slightly outside of the real center point, and it's going to go to the corner. And then, sorry about that, we'll go to another line, and it's going to go here over to that spot. And that gives us another idea of closed loop or open surface that we can cut things out of. And then we can remove that symmetric so it goes both ways, and we're just going to have that go through all. All right, we still get a little funkiness on there, but that's just because we haven't cut off that surface yet. And you see we get no weird aberrations coming out of that. So that sounds good. We'll rotate over to the left side in this case. It doesn't really matter, but we just need to go over to the other side. And we're going to repeat that exact same process. So I'm going to come out here. We'll go in something like that. Again, doesn't really matter. And then we'll use our line tool, and we'll find a corner. We'll go down to, sure, that looks good. And then we'll come all the way over here and connect in, finish our sketch, extrude, get all of that, remove, symmetrical, and again, the distance is going to be through all. And there we go. We have that thing set up. It has a nice little pointy spiky on it. It has cable pathway, and it has little chamfers for us to be able to align it and get it in there with no problem. But you can see how quickly and easily inside of Onshape we're able to go through and generate 3D models that look good, will function well for us, we think, and more importantly, can print out. All we need to do is right-click on this, go to Export. Then we can grab an STL file, give it a name, and make sure the units are millimeter. If they're anything else, most 3D printers are not going to recognize the right dimensions, and they're going to either print enormous or way too small. But if you use millimeters, that's what most 3D printers tend to use as their units, and we're good to go. So we can export and then throw it into slicing software, and then we can print it out. And we'll see the results in just a sec. All right, so we went through and printed that out. I'm sorry I don't have any footage of it, but you can see it fits in there, no problem. It looks exactly the same, but it's very, very loose. I forgot to take into account shrinkage when I was going through and printing these. So 2 to 5% is what I really need to do. But luckily, we can always add stuff. So I'm just going to add some electrical tape to the ends there. Not to tape it into place, but on those little fins, I can add tape to thicken it up, and it should not be a big deal. Now, I'm not sure how great we can see all this here, but you can see that there's electrical tape. I just put one strip on each of those little vertical fins coming up, and it should cause the fit to be just fine. Again, this is not like a huge structural component or anything. It will be fine. And you can see it slides in there. It fits nice and tight. I just need to rearrange the wires a little bit so it fits fully in there. But when you take a look at the original fit for these versus what we have now, it lines right up. Let's take a look and see what this looks like outside. And you can tell, well, you can't tell which one's what, and that's kind of the goal here. It's stuck in the ground, no problem. I know that weather-wise it's going to break down in the cold and the wetness, but that's not a big deal. I need to stay up for 1 month, and then I can put it away, and next year I can either print out a new one or figure out a different solution. But I'm pretty happy with this. Let me know if you like this kind of stuff, because I have lots more ideas, and I'll see you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.